Well, hello and welcome to, this is technically a new show. For everyone that's seen me before, hi, I'm Cuddy Cudworth, the host of Chatter About the Chatter, which is a different radio show completely different radio show. Because when Russ, and I always say thank you to Russ, by the way, I have to say thank you to Russ. Russ says, oh, let's do a different show. Right, not a problem. So we're going to do a different show. Now, this is a bold statement for a radio show. Before I introduce you, Graham, this is a bold statement because this radio, it was, but we'll explain why it's my idea. It's because the meaning of life. And there's a reason we're going to call it the meaning of life. But before we go into that, what is the meaning of life, Graham?
Yeah, throw me in the deep end. Thanks very much, Cuddy. That's very kind of you. What is the meaning of life? I haven't a clue. We should have called it the meanings of life, I think, because I think there might be more than one. But do you know what? We'll get into that on the show. So I'm going to throw it back to you. What's your meaning of life, Cuddy?
The meaning of life is whatever I create. I'm in charge of the meaning of life. That's something that I've learned along the way with everything that I've gone through. I create a meaning. I create a meaning to everything that's happened to me. And if that meaning that I'm creating is not positive, I'm going to have a bad day. And I mean it. By the way, Graham, I always come from a place of realistic and positive, not just constant positivity. Realistic. I like to set those realistic expectations. Hi, Veronica. Thank you very much for joining us. Can you see Veronica in the comments there, Graham?
I can see Veronica. Hi, Veronica. Hope you're well. Don't know who you are, but hi. It's nice to have you here. Hopefully there's going to be a few people joining us. Listen, if you are out there joining us, please drop us a comment on whichever platform you're watching us on. We would love to hear from you, and we'll try and keep you entertained for the next 59 minutes.
Don't think about the time. Don't think
about the time. Just keep talking.
So a lot of people already. How are you, Kanika? Great to see you, Luke. Oh, thank you very much, Luke. Pleased to meet you. So quite a few people know me already. I'm the host of the Chatter About the Chatter radio station and podcast. Monkey Mind Relaxation life coach, helping people get past depression, anxiety, low self-worth in men and ladies, in all fairness. And that's where I come from. My company is monkeymindrelaxation.com. But who do we have co-hosting tonight? Graham, please explain to everyone who you are.
Sure, I can certainly do that. My name is Graham Nicholls. I am the owner, the creator, the head instructor and coach at the Priority Academy. The subjects of we'll call it mental health for now, but I think we might have a discussion on that a bit later in the show, are very dear to my heart. I suffered over 20 years ago now. I was diagnosed with stress, anxiety, and depression all at the same time. And my journey into becoming well again has now helped me to help other people to do the same. And now I teach people to go out and help people to do the same. So that's where I come from. And that's what I do for a living, between coaching and providing courses for life coaching and NLP and CBT and EFT tapping and meditation, mindfulness, and a whole bunch of other stuff as well. But, you know, we're not here to talk about what I do. We're here to talk about stuff that can really help people. So we're talking about the meanings of life to start with, Cuddy. So kick us off. What's the meanings of life?
Well, the meanings of life is what we create, in all fairness. Now, I'm looking at the backgrounds before we get into the serious stuff, and I'm thinking my meanings of life right there with these vibes, I have to say it, Graham, I have to say it, is beach vibes, a little bit of a boardwalk, nice, calm, positive vibes, bring in the colour, pink T-shirt. What's your meaning of life with your background, Graham?
Yeah. I kind of went all professional on myself, which is far from who I am in my normal life. But yes, I went for an office. Yes. Okay. I admit that I may have screwed that one up. And the next time we do this in a month's time, I won't be coming in an office. So yes, my meaning of life at the moment is get out of the office.
Get out of the office. It's grey. It's grey is what it is.
It is grey. It is grey. But as I was trying to explain to you before we came on, if I turn the background white and I do that, my head disappears. And I've got a big ball shiny head. It just disappears. So I was practicing before and I was going, oh my God, I can't use white because my head disappears every time I tilt it. So I'd be something like that. So that's my meaning of life is far from an office. My meaning of life is much more about everything that I create. Like you said, in every situation, we create a meaning of life. So yeah. I have this thing where I remember as a kid and growing up that there used to be these philosophers and stuff that they would, the big question of why and what's the meaning of life. Like there's this one grand meaning of life. And I just remember thinking, why should there just be one grand meaning of life? we all have meanings of life, and we have different meanings for different areas of life. You know, my main meaning of life is to provide for my family and make sure they've got a roof over their head and they've got food on the table for my wife and daughter. But I also have a meaning of life in the Priority Academy, where I'm helping as many people as I can to help as many people as they can. You know, and in other areas of my life, I have other meanings. You know, I could go out for a walk with my dog in the morning and create a meaning for that morning, you know, for that particular day, because it's the first thing I do in the day. And it's better that I create a meaning rather than the meaning creating me. Does that make sense?
That does make sense, and I want to jump on that a little bit. And especially with the whole premise of Men's Radio Station, and we know there's so many lady viewers on this one. Hi to Kanika, who's on YouTube. Your course. Oh, Kanika knows you from the Priority Academy. Fantastic.
Oh, fantastic, Kanika. Thank you for joining us.
Love that. Now, your Facebook group, once you've got the courses, there's how many thousands are in your Facebook group?
Yeah, there's 16,000 people, just gone over 16,000 people in the Facebook group these days.
Oof.
And it's just an amazing place. I started it for students to come together and kind of connect, and it just became this place where everybody's so helpful and caring and compassionate, and they just help. Everybody helps each other, and it's a fantastic place to be. I absolutely love what it's turned into, which is very little to do with me, as much as I try and help as much as I can. It's just the people in there that are creating this wonderful atmosphere in there. It's amazing. Hi, Jane. I can see you just dropped in. Hi, Jane. She's from the Priority Academy as well. Nice to see you. Well, I can't see you, but you know,
she's there. So we're going to talk about it's mental health. And I was talking to somebody else this week, and I know it's probably a subject that's been covered so many times, but while we've got this fabulous audience, let's talk about the scary premise of mental health and mental illness, first of all, Graham, because I think there's still this big misconception. And we talked about this when you go to a doctor and there's just an automatic, when there's something wrong with us, first place we go is the doctors, and then the doctors prescribe you something. And I know your story. I've probably mentioned my story when I first went to the doctors, and it was mentioned, there's the phone number for the Samaritans. I'm like, I'm not really thinking like that. Why? What? I've got these thoughts. I've got these things going on. Oh yeah, here's the Samaritans. All right, not a problem. Now I remember when you went to the doctor. What was your story when you went to the doctor?
Yeah, I went to the doctor, and I remember sitting there and saying, "Okay, so you've got stress, anxiety, and depression all at the same time. Here's a prescription." And I was like, "Okay, I've got a bit of paper in my hand. We'll start taking the pills, and they'll probably kick in about 3 months' time." And I nearly had a panic attack just thinking about that, because I thought, I can't keep on feeling like this for 3 months. That's ridiculous before they kick in. So, but I knew so little, and we're talking, as I say, over 20 years ago. I knew so little. I knew the words, but I knew so little about depression, anxiety, stress, and all of that connected stuff that we now call mental health.
Yeah.
Which I prefer the term emotional health, because mental health makes you think that it's only up here, it's only in your head, but actually it's an emotion. You feel depression in your body absolutely as much as you do in your head. You feel anxiety in your body or stress in your body. It's an emotion, not just a mental health issue. And you talked about the differences between mental health and mental illness. But I remember walking out of the doctor's office thinking, I need to know more about these conditions before I start thinking about taking a pill that I could be on for the rest of my life if I let this carry on. So that's where my journey started. I started to learn as much as I could. I started to read books and go to seminars and stuff. And there weren't video conferencing in these days. I had to travel around the country going to different seminars and listen to tape programs. Anybody old enough to remember cassettes? Yes, I used to listen to them.
What are they, Graham? What are they?
You're not old enough for that, Cuddy. I realize.
Right, okay.
I'm an old man, so don't worry about it.
Okay, I had to ask.
I just learned as much as I could, and then used what I'd learned to try and improve my own life.
Yeah.
And then life coaching came along, and I thought, I love that, and I can now use what I've learned.
Yeah.
But I just can't. Every time I talk to somebody and they say I have a mental health issue, I can't help but think what you have is an emotional health issue. You have an emotion that you feel too much of and you want to feel less of. And that's the truth of it. The mental illness side of it, that's not my specialty. I wouldn't dare to dream about talking about anything like that. But the mental health side of it, turning that into an emotion makes it easier to deal with. If you're just thinking that you've got to deal with it up there, that's really hard because we know so little about what's up there.
Yeah.
But if you turn it into an emotion that includes your body and your whole system, then we can help a lot more people. If we actually, I think even if we called it emotional health rather than mental health, I think we could help a whole lot more people.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's strange because I mean, it certainly comes from this is more probably of an opinion, but when you do go to the doctors, which is always the first place that you go, and they've got 6 minutes to listen to you, and then they take the tablet, and I'm like, that must be. I wonder if that's frustrating for the doctors when people say I've got these thoughts and all these things that go on, and all that. The only thing that the doctors are thinking about is if you take this tablet, it can slow down your brainwaves, it'll slow down your thinking and your thought patterns, but takes you away from that normal state. But it just becomes so much for everybody. I wonder if at any time they must be thinking, "Oh, is there anything else I can offer them? Is there anything else that I can offer them?"
I think, well, I would hope they do, but at the end of the day, they do an amazing job. They're general practitioners. So in 1 minute they have somebody walking through who's got the flu, and the next minute they have somebody walking through who's suffering with anxiety or depression, and then the next minute it could be somebody's turned their ankle over or something. They do an amazing job. So I think it would be really hard, as you say, they've got 5 or 6 minutes to deal with something. I think if there was, if you could look at it a different way, that instead of going to a doctor when you have an emotional health issue, if you searched out a therapist or a coach or something like that, somebody who deals with that and can help you deal with that, you would have much more success than just going to a doctor and being given a pill. No, I'm not saying medication's wrong either. Let me just
not in any way.
I'm not saying not at all. Medication can help, but there's other areas that can help as well.
Yeah. So the meaning of life, and it's something that I've definitely been reading into, and it's something that I've been fully aware of, is the stories that we create for how we are feeling, and that's where the meanings come from. And we can often ask ourselves certain questions like, "Why is this happening to me again?" And once we've asked these questions, we already answer that. That's what your brain does. It's like, "Oh, he's asked me a question. I've got to answer." And sometimes if those answers are not positive, or "Why is this happening to me again?" it's not really an empowering question, is it? It's one of those questions that's kind of close-ended because you'll just get a quick answer because you're stupid. So if that's your answer, how do you think that is going to internalize, especially with a chatter? I know we're not really going to touch on that as much today, but that's those kind of questions, and especially and I'm fully aware of young people growing up right now. And the pressures of social media, because we know that comparison starts popping up, and then fabulous news following craft fair with your book. Oh, right, thank you very much, Veronica. Fabulous news following craft fair with your book. Does that mean anything, Veronica? Good stuff.
I think you might have wanted to put that on a different post, Veronica. I'm not sure.
I think Veronica's going to explain that.
I hope so, because I'm confused.
We need a new meaning for that one. That's it, Veronica. We're confused on the meaning on that one. But we are the ones that create meanings to things that are happening. And that comes from, a lot of the times, our subconscious and our imaginations. Our imagination, if not used correctly, is one of the most powerful, disruptive things that happens in our lives. Isn't that right, Graham?
It is, absolutely. And what you said about the questions there is absolutely correct. We ask questions. That's how we live our lives. We ask not only outwardly, but we ask inwardly our questions. And if it's, if you ask a disempowering question, you're going to get a pretty rubbish, disempowering answer. And my question was when I was struggling is, why does this always happen to me? And the answer I used to get was, because you're useless and you deserve it. And after you say that time and time and time again, the meaning I created for my life was, well, I'm useless and I deserve it. Well, if I was saying that to myself every single day, is it any wonder that I struggled with depression, stress, and anxiety? Because all I was doing was creating the meaning that I'm useless and I deserve it. And that's when I carry on. Sorry,
but that's purely an internal thought process that we have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is totally silent. And this is what men, and there's loads of ladies that are going through, are genuinely that in silent rotation of thoughts going around when we ask those questions and we create that. Is there any wonder that mental health is such a focal point right now?
Absolutely, and it's something we don't get taught as kids, do we?
No.
About 7 or 8 years old, we start our internal dialogue. That's when it starts to kick in.
Yep.
But at no point in school are we taught, well, you're going to have this internal dialogue, but you're in control of it. It's your voice. I remember saying to my daughter when she was about 9 or 10, she said something, and I said, "But whose voice is that?" And she went, "I don't know." I was like, "But it's yours."
Yep.
If we could teach kids that as your voice, take control of it. When it was one of the most powerful things in my life was to realize that that's my voice and I can control it. So when it comes up and says, "Why does this always happen to me?" I can say, "I'm not interested in that. How do I stop it from happening to me again?"
Yeah.
That was massive to my life. It took a shift in my life because although that chatter might still be there,
Yeah.
what you can do is just quieten that chatter down and then consciously choose which chatter you want to have.
Yeah.
And that was huge to me. That was the real start of my journey of shift in my life.
That's one of those I think a lot of people don't realize, and especially when it's funny because when I've worked with clients and I'm like that, we always ask who's that conversation. It's well, it's actually your voice. What? Yeah, you're creating that voice. Pardon? Yep, you are. That is your voice, and you're creating that. What? So I'm creating that story. Yep, that's those things where those thoughts come from. And those are the meanings that we create. Now, because it's emotions, which is one of the most important things, you'll create a different meaning depending on what emotional state you are. And look, we're talking emotions, fellas. We are talking emotions.
Hold the phone. We're talking emotions. I know us fellas don't like to talk about stuff like that. So grab hold of yourselves. We're ready. We're going in.
And I was talking to my friend in Lanzarote yesterday. I said, "Oh, I was talking to somebody else." And I said, "Oh, have you thought about talking about your emotions?" And it was like the shutters came down. The shutters came down on this other guy. No. And why is it after all these times that we can't talk about emotions? Why is it? Why is it, Graham?
Do you know what? I think there's many reasons. Some people were brought up, and I was brought up. No, you stiff up a lip and all that sort of stuff if you're British. And I was brought up. You just keep it all inside. You try and deal with it yourself. And well, I mean, utter rubbish that I know now, but that's the truth. People do think that. People do think, I've got to deal with it myself. And as you rightly said, we have, there's lots of ladies listen to men's radio station.
Mm-hmm.
And whether you're here to try and help yourself or whether you're here to try and help your boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, husband, whatever, fair play to you for being here. But if you're asking the question, why won't my husband or boyfriend or whatever talk to me? Well, the reason is because he's been taught that's not what you do. He's been taught he's either trying to protect you, or he's been taught that he's got to be strong, or he's been taught that he can't show his emotions properly, or he's been taught that he can't talk about it. And that's what we are taught. So if you're a lady and you're going, "Why won't he talk to me?" Just consider that that's what he's been taught, and that's how it is. And you just need to give him time and be there for him when he's ready to talk. Do you know what? My wife said this to me when I said I was coming on here, and I said, there's 50% listenership is ladies, and the first thing she said was, "Is that because they're trying to help their men out?" And I went, "Oh, what a great insight! It's not just ladies coming here to help themselves, and it's to help the men as well." So I'm trying to offer something for all of you.
Do you know what I have to say? I think ladies, and I'm going to have the exception of my wife on this one, but most ladies are very in tune with their feelings and emotions. They know when they're a little bit off center and things like that. And I think recent research is that the self-help industry is 85% female orientated, because they want to get past those feelings of low self-worth, those thoughts and that internal chatter and all those kind of things. So I always commend the ladies, but it's look, fellas, we do have to talk about this. And I was talking to somebody, it is how we were brought up. Now, I can't say that I wasn't brought up like that, because I was brought up where I was allowed to talk about my emotions and things like that. I have to say fair play to mum and dad on those
absolutely.
Things. So I've always been quite open with those kind of things, but I always stand on that. I wasn't at one point, because that conversation got so loud. And I always talk about it openly. Meditation. That's why I've got this background, because I'm very much aware of what we take in on a daily basis, Graham, actually plays havoc with the way that we think, also the way that we can feel as emotionally stable. and I think I was talking about it last time. Self-awareness is knowing when you're not in that place that can be put us into that downward spiral. I always talk about the downward spiral and things like that. So I think it's really, we need to be open. We do need to talk about it more and let gentlemen know that they are allowed to talk about it, even if it's just from watching on the sidelines. And I'm honest. I tell everyone I'm 6'2", I'm 3 feet wide. I still have those days when I'm, my thoughts are off, and I fancy a little cry. And I find crying quite a release. I'm going to be honest with you. I find it quite a release. And that's me. I'm being open and honest about it. I've been open and honest about it because I think we should talk about these things. What we did want to mention is when it comes to these radio shows that we're going to be presenting and stuff like that, Graham, is giving away as much value to anyone that's listening and giving people tools that if they don't want to go and speak to someone or they don't want to go and see someone, there's tools they're going to be able to take away from this show. And there's a fabulous lineup on the shows at Men Radio Station. I have to say, a fabulous lineup. I've been checking out Pam Spur, what a lovely lady she was. So Reading the Signs was a really good guy. There was a comedian guy on Reading the Signs. So I've been checking out all the other radio shows, and we just want to give away value. And the meaning of life is such. It's a big title. It's a big shoes to fill there, Graham. Big shoes to fill.
Absolutely.
But one thing I always took away from you, from one of the courses that I did do with you, was the palm state. The palm state is such a simple thing, and you said this is a tool that you use.
Yeah, absolutely. This I created this for me. I created it so that I could use it on myself, and I created it so when I'm working with clients, I have something nice and simple that I can use with them that I'm not going to have to think about too much. It's just something nice and simple. And I'd love to share it. So give me a few moments and I'll try and share it. So if you can imagine holding up your hand like that, and there's a reason it's called the palm state, but it's not about palm reading or anything like that. I said that to somebody the other day. I do something called palm therapy, and they go, "Oh right, you're palm reader, great. That's just what I need." No, it's not about palm reading. I promise. So if you hold up your hand and you imagine on the knuckle of your index finger is the letter P. So the letter P stands for a physical association. Now, a physical association to any sort of emotion is completely different depending on the emotion that you have, isn't it? So if I can ask you at home, if you imagine that over to the side here, that I've got somebody stood here, there's a guy stood here, and he is angry. He is as angry as you can imagine. What's his physical association? Cuddy, maybe you could answer. What's he doing physically to be angry? What's his physical? There we go. Absolutely. Really uptight, fist clench, get the fist in. That's a physical association to that emotion. And to be honest, if I sat there for long enough going, like that, I'd be blooming well angry as well. So that's a physical association. Now, what about if I said somebody who was down or depressed? What would you put their physical association as? Would it still be all clenched up? There we go. It's like that, isn't it? The head's down, the face is down, the eyes are looking down, probably breathing, something like that. Now, I'm not doing a generalization and saying that everybody looks like that who's depressed. Let me get that absolutely clear. I appreciate that people still go on and get on with their lives, even if they're still depressed. But in their most depressed times, they all know where to go. We all know where to go because we've done it before. We've all been depressed at some point in our lives. Or if you don't want to call it depression, we've all been a little bit down at some point in our lives. And we know how that feels physically. We know how that whole thing feels. So that's your physical association. And if you can discover your physical association to that emotion, then you can shift it. So if you feel yourself going into that slump, you can go out and do something different. You can go for a walk or a run or a bike ride. You can put some music on. That's my favorite. I love putting music on and singing and dancing around the living room, which my dog Charlie loves and tries to join in with me. So I love doing stuff like that because it just changes that whole physical association. If you can shift yourself from that to that, you change how you feel. Just to give you a little bit of science behind it, there's a doctor called Dr. Candice Pert back in the 1970s. She was the first person to discover the connection between the mind and the body, the brain and the body. And she discovered that when you feel a certain way up here, that sends peptides down into your cells, touches every single cell and affects every single cell. But she also discovered it works the other way as well. If you change what you do here, it changes what you do up there as well. It changes the chemicals in your mind
Nice.
as well. So
Nice.
just changing that physical association can be a massive change to your emotions. So that's physical association. That was the P. So under the middle finger is the A for the palm. If you remember, we're doing palm. So the A is the attention. Where do you place your attention? What do you think about when you're in that emotion? So if I talk about this guy here who's at the side of me, who's really, really angry, what's he paying attention to? He's paying attention to all the things he's angry about and probably making up stories about a whole bunch of stuff thinks he's angry about.
He's creating a meaning.
It's creating a meaning that makes him angry. So if we can shift our attention onto something else, something calm, which things like meditation are a wonderful tool to do. If you shift your physical self and then shift your attention onto meditation or something like that, you just change that whole perception. So already we've got 2 areas to break down that emotional state. So when we move on to the third one, when we look at the knuckle just under the ring finger there, that's the L of palm, and that's the language we use. And we've kind of talked on that a bit before, because we've talked about the questions we use. If we use questions that make us angry or make us feel depressed or make us anxious or make us stressed, then guess what? That's what they're going to do. You know, if we ask ourselves a question about being angry, is why do people always do this to me and make me angry? Well, is it any wonder that we're going to be angry? But if we can change that question to, how can I stop feeling angry when somebody does that to me? You've got an instant shift, because your brain will answer any question you ask it. That's the way the brain's set up. If I ask you what 1 + 1 is, your brain's going to say 2.
7. No, it's not 7.
Okay, yours isn't going to say 2, Cuddy.
Right,
I appreciate that. Okay, but thank you. You're not a teacher,
next
mathematician,
question.
or anything.
I didn't realize we were doing a quiz. I wasn't prepared. What's the next question of the quiz?
What's the next question? Can you spell your own? No, let's not go there. So we're talking about the language, the questions that we use, and the language that we say to ourselves. We talk about affirmations and incantations. We actually use those all the time. The trouble is, they're usually negative ones. You know, if I was talking about my story and I asked the question and I got the meaning out that I was rubbish and useless and didn't deserve anything good, but that's what I'm saying to myself. That's an affirmation. That's an incantation. I'm incanting to myself that I'm useless and I'm rubbish and I don't deserve it. Well, guess what happens? I absolutely believe it. He's giggling. He's off.
I'm giggling because I love talking about affirmations, but I just know that affirmation still has this connotation of woo-woo, right? I think there's such a big word going around, which is woo-woo. So if there is any men listening to this, they're like, oh, they're talking about affirmations. Oh my. Yeah. Let's tune out.
I've got to walk around all day going, I'm good. It's not like that. And I actually prefer the word incantations because it's got a much more deeper meaning. The word incantations can be split down to I can't-ations or I can-tations. And it's really easy. If you do negative, then I can't-ations. If you do positive, I can-tations. It's nice and simple to remember. But it gives us such a different shift in our language. So if we make a shift in our language and we ask different questions, we're going to change our emotions. So just imagine for a minute before we finish the palm off that we've shifted our physical body and we've done something. Let's say we're dancing around the room, singing along to Bon Jovi. Yeah, that's my favorite. Sorry about that. Say we're doing that.
What is it? Bon Jovi?
Bon Jovi. Yeah, I'm a Bon Jovi fan. I can't help it. Okay. You know, it's been engraved for me with a kid. I do apologize. So
Don't apologize.
I've changed my physical self. I've changed what I'm paying attention to because I'm not paying attention to the stuff that makes me angry or the stuff that makes me depressed anymore. I'm paying attention to the music and me singing along and what I'm doing. And I'm probably thinking about different days, or maybe I'm thinking about going to see them in concert, which I've done a few times. So I've shifted my attention. And then I'm shifting my language by asking myself, this makes me feel better. How do I do this more often? Or something along those lines. I've already shifted 3 parts of an emotion. And I've shifted the emotion. Now, I'm not saying it won't come back at some point, but the more times you break those patterns of the old emotion, the more, and you replace them with positive ones, then the more times you're more positive or in a better state, in a better emotional state, and the less time you're in that negative state. And then we finish it off because we called this show The Meaning of Life.
We did.
The M stands for meaning, the meanings we create. When we create those questions, we create a meaning from it. Well, if we shift the meaning by asking the simple question, what else could this mean? Simple. And you can come up with 100 different meanings and pick the one that really works for you to make you positive, or to put you in a better mood, or to make you happy or fulfilled or joyful, or whatever you want to call it. So if you shift your physical association, you shift your attention, you shift your language, and then you create a meaning for yourself instead of just letting your stupid unconscious mind create it for you,
Yeah.
well, then guess what? You've shifted the emotion.
Yeah.
Now, is that going to take away depression straight away? No. But with it practiced time and time again, depression will lessen, and whatever you want to replace it with will increase. How do I know this? It's exactly what I did for myself. That's how I shifted my depression, anxiety, and stress. I chose to shift all of those, and that created something different in me. Do I still get depressed sometimes? Yeah, there are times. There are times where I feel depressed, but do you know what? I know how to change it and get out of it. Do I feel anxious sometimes? Every time I'm going to release a new course, believe me, I feel anxious about whether I've done the job right and people are going to benefit from it. But do you know what? I shift it. Do I feel stressed? Heck yes, do I feel stressed sometimes? But you know what? That's life. I get on with it and I shift it because I know how to. And now the key thing is, so do you. So I'm going to throw it back at you now, Cuddy, because I've spoken for a load of time.
Because look, it's a cracking show where we get to share all these things. And look, I know you are a wealth of knowledge in these areas, Graham. I know you're a wealth of knowledge in these things. And that's why we're here. So, and Kanika's asked us a question that we didn't answer. And Kanika is asking, do you also believe in acceptance and commitment therapy?
Do you know what? It's a subject I haven't looked deeply into, but I have a really good friend who lives over in the States, and he's a real expert on it. He's got courses out on it, and I've watched bits of his courses. I haven't had a chance to go through it all, but I do, I believe in acceptance. Absolutely. I absolutely do. I think before we can ever shift our lives, we have to accept where we currently are first, because most people either see things better than they are, or they see things worse than they are. And what you need to do is accept things as they are. Be truthful with yourself and accept where they are before we can ever shift. So do I believe in ACT? I absolutely do. I just don't know a lot about it yet, and it's one of those things that I'm looking to know much more about. Do you know much about ACT, Cuddy?
I've heard of it. There's so many different therapies around, and I think everybody should try anything that works for them. Absolutely try anything. NLP worked for me. That's what worked for me. I did it myself. I used it on myself. I still talk about the elastic band therapy. I just every time because it's an anchor. It's an anchor for you changing focus because our thoughts get into those loops. Once you keep going around in those loops, you need to break the loop. That's what happens with anxiety for a lot of people. Is these thoughts keep going and going and going and going. And that's why meditation works for everybody. But I know I've got friends that do EFT. I've got so many friends that do EFT, and I did EFT, and I was very honest. For me, it just didn't work. I don't want to throw the bus under on EFT, and I know you do a fabulous EFT course, but it just doesn't work for me. But that doesn't mean to say I'm not going to go and try something else, right?
Absolutely, and I think that's the thing people get caught up in, is that I've got to do CBT. Let's use CBT as an example. I've got to do CBT because CBT works for everybody. Well, actually, no, it doesn't.
Nope, doesn't.
There's not one fix for everybody. And I think the helping industry itself got caught up for many, many years in this thing of you've either got to do this or this, and that's it. And, people would specialize in CBT, or they would specialize in hypnotherapy, or they specialize in this, and they wouldn't look at anything else. And I think the people who are really going to help the most people are people who have a toolbox of different things. Because I can be chatting with a client, you can be chatting with a client, and you try something from CBT and it doesn't work for them. So you shift and you try something with NLP, or you try EFT tapping. And something is going to work. You're going to find the right thing at the right time. And I think that's such a massive thing for the helping industry to embrace, is to have as many tools as you possibly can in the box. And I think that works for people as well. If you try something, it doesn't work, don't just give up. Try something else. Something will work.
Do you know what? I think you've just opened. I'm going to open. I think you might have opened a little can of worms there, because I want to dive.
Oh, here we go.
See what I'm doing there, Graham? I'm opening
I can see what you're doing there. I'm not quite. It looks like you're pulling a pint of beer. I've got to be honest, but I'm not sure.
I think this is a really good subject that we should be talking about. Is why is it we are so quick to try one thing and say it doesn't work, and just say nothing works. Nothing works. Nothing works because I've tried that. That doesn't work, and it's a hard one because everyone's got different places where they are in life and things like that. But why is it we sometimes give in so quickly, Graham? I know what it was for me in the past, because we get stuck with that, keep on wanting to try and change something else and change something else, because that's what depression can do to us. Oh, well, I've tried that one thing, now I can't change. Well, I've tried that one thing and I can't change. And I've got a lot of friends who I work with, and they say, oh, but Cuddy, you're so positive. I'm like, no, I'm not positive. I'm realistic. I am definitely realistic. But I know that I can keep trying. And there's certain quotes that you'll hear over the thing. And I think it might have been a Tony Robbins quote. And I always remember him saying, I have a lot of people come to me and say, oh, I've tried 100 things, but it didn't work. And he just came back with, what did you try 101 times? What did you try 102 times? And that's it. It's like, well, that's not working. And that's why we can struggle with failure so much, because it's like, well, I've tried it. And then the effort, it's the effort it takes sometimes, isn't it? And once we've created that mindset of, oh, well, I've got depression, I've got no energy, I can't keep trying and moving forward, which is why exercise. I mean, if everybody talks about going for a walk, if we all know, and everybody in the whole world, if you don't know, walking is one of the best things you can do for your mental and emotional health.
Absolutely.
Walking. It's free.
Simple
it's right there for you. Walking. I mean, it changes your physicality. It changes what you're focusing on. You can create whatever meaning you want. And that's the meaning of life, obviously. But walking, absolutely. But why is it that we can often find ourselves not... Oh, hi, Susan. Susan, darling.
Hi, Susan.
I love that name. Susan Darling Spurrier. That's a name. That's a name I'm not going to forget. Susan. Do you know Susan?
Susan's in the Priority Academy.
How are you, Susan Darling Spurrier? I love that name. I'm really stuck on that name. That's brilliant. So I've even lost my train of thought on this one. But why is it we just give in so quickly? Graham, why is it we give in so quickly?
I think there's a whole mix of things. I think sometimes it's fear. It's fear of well, it could be fear of a few things. It could be fear of, what happens if it doesn't work? Do I get, am I just stuck in this anyway? So what's the point in trying? Or is it?
I want to play a word association game, Graham. I want to play a word association, which is why my positivity can sometimes drive people up the wall. So, say you're saying one more time, and I want to jump in with my answer.
Say my saying. Which
say what you just said. Say what you just said about what if it doesn't. What if it doesn't?
What if it doesn't work?
What if it does work? What if it does work? That's my answer. What if it does work? Go on, next one.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's the great question of any coach. What if it does work? Yeah, so there's fear of that. There's fear of what might be on the other side. What if I can be happy all the time? How will that feel? Is that scary? To some people, that's scary. On the other hand, it can be because we have patterns. And this is the absolute truth. We run patterns through ourselves every single day. And those patterns are hard to break down. We have to put the work in. And people just think that they're going to do it once or twice and boom, it's all sorted. It's all finished. Yeah, we're all good now. It's great. If you're talking about breaking down a belief or something like that, people think they can answer a set of questions and yeah, it's all good. But it doesn't work that way. We get stuck in a pattern. Yeah. I like to call it the emotional raceway. If you imagine a figure eight, but on its side, did you have Scalextrics as a kid, or if you know what Scalextrics is?
Why am I thinking infinity?
Of course, it is the infinity side. It is the infinity sign. But I'm talking about Scalextrics. Now, if you're from anywhere but the UK, I don't know if Scalextrics was around the world, but we used to get Scalextrics in a figure eight raceway, and you used to put cars on them, and you used to just follow it around, and you used to be trying to keep them on the track. Well, the truth is, when we're in this emotional raceway, is we might feel, as we get down to this side, we might feel a bit depressed. Let's go with depression. But our bodies can't stay in there. Our whole nervous system craves change. So it wants to change. So it changes, but more often than not, and this is a generalized pattern, but I see it more often than not, the shift to the other end is usually anger or frustration or something along those lines.
Yeah.
So we shift because depression is that, like that, there's no energy and everything like that. Anger is the diametric opposite, isn't it? It's full energy, it's powerful, it's strong, but it's not particularly productive in this case. So we get angry and then our nervous system get fed up with that, so we go back to depression. What we really need to do is what we used to do on Scalextrics, and certainly I did as a kid, we used to sit there and we used to, you have to, a little gun that you press in and the car goes faster. And the more you pressed it in, the car went faster. What we used to do on the corners is press it in as hard as you can and see how far the car would jump. You know,
Is that not what like kids do to parents now? Is that not like a great analogy for what kids are doing? Kids right now, and I'm not a parent, so I can't. I know you were saying you're a parent as well, Graham. But is that not a great analogy for any parents out there? That's literally look at what your kids are doing to you right now. They're sat with a trigger and they're just waiting to see, because kids are so intelligent these days. They're so intelligent.
Absolutely. They're waiting until you get on that bend and then they go, yeah. Absolutely.
The reason I thought about that, it's the strangest thing, Graham, is I was just in Lidl the other day and I was doing the shopping at Lidl and there was some kids going around Lidl on the scooters, and the security guard was so nice. He went, "Come on, lads, you can't do that. You can't do that." And that's it. They carried on. So he got him on the other aisle and he just walked him out. And it's just strange that you brought this, because the kid, he can't have been any more than 12, 13, kind of walked out going, "This establishment's just not for me. You need a nicer security guard. You need a nicer security guard." Now, old me, I would have been like, who the... But I was like, no, just going to count my breath while I'm just putting my chicken nuggets through. I'm just going to count my breath. I don't need to get engaged with that. My monkey mind absolutely wants to punch you in the face, and I'm fully aware of that. That's self-awareness. But I'm just going to put my chicken nuggets through because I don't need to respond to you in any way whatsoever. Not like old me, Graham, in all fairness, but just your emotional raceway just made me think of kids with a trigger. Kids with a trigger. Sorry.
Absolutely. No. It's a great analogy, to be fair. I'm worried about how many chicken nuggets you're eating, Cuddy. I've got to be honest.
Yeah, I know.
I
don't know why chicken nuggets came up. I don't even eat chicken nuggets. What was the most thing I put through the till yesterday? What was the most thing I put? Oh, tomatoes, tins of tomatoes. Just didn't ring as well as the chicken nuggets. Good stuff.
So if you imagine the metaphor of that raceway, and if you're stuck on that now, whether it be anxiety turning into, feeling down, or whether it be depression turning into anger or frustration, or maybe it's stress turning into I'm completely fed up with the world, whatever it may be, the metaphor still works. What you need to do is pull that trigger as hard as you can and jump that raceway and find something else. And I've got to be honest, there's something else that always works, and this might sound a bit woo-woo as well. I know you're talking about woo-woo, but the one thing that always works that will jump you off that raceway is gratitude. When you discover what you are grateful for, and when you think, even if it's the smallest thing, and the best way to start is with the small things, because if you can be grateful for the smallest things, a beautiful flower outside or a butterfly that flies past, if you can be grateful for them, you can be grateful for the big things. And I promise you, and this is, this scientifically proven, you cannot be grateful and feel a negative emotion at the same way. There's a gateway system in our minds. If you are grateful and you completely commit, I'm not talking about just going, I'm grateful for my life and I'm grateful for a flower and blah, blah, blah. I'm talking about feeling that gratitude right in there. If you are emotionally grateful completely, you cannot feel depressed at the same time. You cannot feel angry or frustrated at the same time. So find your gratitude, and I promise you, your gratitude is like pulling that trigger on that emotional raceway and jumping the car off. That's exactly what you do.
I want to jump on that. I genuinely want to jump on that. I'm so glad you mentioned gratitude, because I think gratitude is the most overused, understood word.
Oh, amen.
In everybody's. I think I have seen far too much on social media of hashtag blessed, because they've got something, Now, let's be honest, we've had a terrible year, 18 months with COVID and things, and there's not been that much gratitude, because it's constantly, that's where the focus has been when it comes to the palm stick. Where's your attention? Your attention is, well, I can't do this and I can't do this and I can't do this. Of course you're going to get depressed. You're listening to these conversations coming in. Well, I can't do this, can't do this, can't do this. In 3 questions time, your brain's already think, oh, well, I can't do that, and that. Of course you're going to have anxiety. Of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's closing down. Your whole system's closing down. But you're like, well, what can I do? What can I do? Most people don't ask that question. But gratitude, I've recently seen a lot of people having gratitude. Now they've received something, not when you should genuinely have gratitude for everybody, for life. Gratitude is one of the most powerful things that you can absolutely have when you are right at the bottom. That's when you want gratitude. It's not when you've received it. It's when you are on the precipice and standing on that dark hole thinking, well, I do not. That's when you start looking for gratitude. That's for any of our listeners, ladies, female, gratitude is not waiting to receive it. It's having gratitude when you've got nothing around you to support anything positive in your life. If you can laser point that gratitude in, actually, no, I have got this. Well, no, I have got this. Because we fall into that trap. Well, I've not got this, I've got this. So what do you have? What do you have right now? Especially when if your families and your gentlemen and you feel like there's this lack of control, if we've lost his jobs and all these things going on, yes, that simple form of gratitude, because it's so quick to see what we've not got, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the story for me that really brings that out, I've practiced gratitude for many, many years. I write in a gratitude journal in the evenings about the things I'm thankful for. And when I started talking to people about it, the one thing I always used to say was, well, you woke up this morning. Many people around the world didn't. And I think just being grateful for waking up in the morning until the day. I mean, it's not easy for me to talk about. And if you're in the Priority Academy, you'll probably know this story. But about it's just over 4 years ago that my best friend in the world, who was only 18 months older than me, went to bed at night, perfectly all right, and he didn't wake up in the morning. By the time his wife went to wake him at 6 o'clock in the morning, he'd gone. He was dead. And I remember the day before, I was telling somebody, be grateful because you woke up this morning and many people around the world didn't. And that morning challenged the hell out of me to be grateful for being awake because my best friend wasn't.
Yeah.
But you know what? I had to be grateful for the time I spent with him.
Yeah.
And the things we did together. I had to be grateful for that. I miss him and I still miss him. There's not a day goes by 4 years later that I still don't think about him in some way. But I have to be grateful because I had the chance to wake up this morning and I had the chance to get up and take my dog Charlie out for a walk. And I had the chance to see the flowers that we have in our garden. And I had the chance to kiss my wife and tell her that I love her. I have the chance to see my daughter. She's just come home from work. I have to be grateful for those things because in an instant, they can be gone.
Yep.
You best be bloody grateful for them now. Excuse me if that's swearing on the radio. I do apologise.
Graham Nicholls swearing live on digital radio.
You wouldn't believe it coming from you, Cuddy.
Do you know, I've done 47 minutes and I've not swore once now.
I know,
Graham,
it's
you know
impressive.
me very well. It's honestly, put a microphone in front of me. I don't swear. That's from my years of my old job.
Have you got a big sign on the top of your screen that says, don't swear?
So, for anyone that's listening, I think all honesty is I swear like a trooper. I have the actual mouth of a sailor, not going to lie. However, my previous job as a cruise director, working all over the world, you stage and present. Whenever I've got a microphone, it's like there's no foul language there whatsoever. It's the strangest thing. So to hear you swearing, Graham Nicholls, before me, it's still a swear word, still a swear, still a swear. That is still funny that you've just swore before I have. Yeah. And for anyone who is from any of the meetings that we do, they were like, I can't believe Graham swore before Cuddy.
we do a fortnightly group coaching meeting, and I can guarantee you within the first 3 minutes of being there, I've asked a question and Cuddy's sworn at it. Yeah, and that's it. It's over and done with. But yeah, you're very professional in front of a mic, Cuddy, I have to say.
Thank you very much. So why is it people struggle with? Well, I think we've got enough minutes that gratitude, staying on that gratitude journey, and when. I think, do you know what? I want to jump on what Susan Darling's just said. She said, fresh morning air, chirping birds, and the purr of a kitten were on her list. As well. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Sina. Yeah, so Susan, your gratitude list. Now, for a lot of, that's a beautiful gratitude list, by the way. With the whole world as it is and everything that's going on, we are so, I mean, we are just completely bombarded with bad news. Bad news, bad news. Look at the news. The news, there's so many horrible things going on in the world. If you just get stuck with that, how can you see anything? That's why I don't watch the news. I hold my hands up to that. Don't watch the news.
Me too.
I try and absolutely, I especially for the first 45 minutes of the day when I know my brainwaves are like a sponge taking in whatever negativity. I stay away from social media. I stay away. That's something that I have done. So Frances is saying she finds it hard to hold gratitude when I am feeling down. Francis,
it's not easy Francis. It's not. What it
It's
is
not.
about practice, though. It is about keeping going, even when you're feeling that way. Is to keep practicing, to keep going at it, to focus. You know, the biggest thing I've ever done when I feel down is to get the one thing that I'm most grateful for in the world, and that's my wife. And I can close my eyes and put her in my mind and just completely focus on how much I love and how much I'm grateful for her. And I know that I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if it wasn't for her. She is the kick up the backside that I need sometimes. But she's also the loving, caring person that nurtures me and congratulates me and goes along the journey with me. So when I'm feeling completely down, I know that she's the one I need in my head because of the love, but particularly because how grateful I am for her. So that shifts everything that I needed to shift towards gratitude. But is it easy? Heck no, it's not.
No,
it's not easy at all. It's not. It takes time, it takes effort, and it takes practice. And that's why people give up so easy. You were talking about it a little while ago. People think that everything has to be easy. Do you know, I hold my hands up. When I was in my 20s, I thought life had to be easy. You know, everything should just go my way. It's one of the core beliefs. Somebody mentioned in the comments about doing the RABT course. Albert Ellis, who designed RABT, one of his core beliefs, negative beliefs that he said would control you, is that everything has to go your way and everybody has to do everything you want them to. Talk about how to screw your own life up if you think that's going to be how it
Two
works.
swear words, Graham Nicholls. Two swear words.
Screwing that terms isn't a swear word. That's about putting stuff into a wall.
Oh, now there's an analogy. Oh, it's all sex with you, Graham. It's all sex.
Oh, no.
Terrible. Terrible, Graham. See, you're giving up too easy, Graham. You're giving up too easy.
I'm grateful for your guidance, Cuddy. I'm grateful.
Oh, I love it. Absolutely fantastic. Good stuff.
Susan said she doesn't watch the news as well. Awesome. Do you know anybody out there? If you're suffering in any way, stop watching the news. It's the best thing you could possibly do. I promise you. Just don't watch it at all. As Cuddy said, particularly in that first hour of the day when your brain is ready to take as much stuff in as it possibly can. Don't do it. Go for a walk instead. I think Susan said she goes for a walk on a regular basis as well. That's the perfect thing to do first thing in the morning.
Absolutely. And look, I will tell everybody. Everybody says that it's. I never thought I'd see the day where Cuddy's the sensible one.
Cena, please put that comment up on the screen because that's awesome.
Thank you very much.
Never
Francis.
thought never.
Lovely comment.
There we go.
Hey! Excellent. For anyone that knows me, I am an idiot, and I don't mind. I am very happy, and I take power in that word. No, I think we made a really good point about gratitude. It is hard. Positivity. It's easier to be negative. That's the problem.
The truth.
That's the truth. It's easier to be negative than it is to be positive. Positivity is not easy. Gratitude is not easy. We are wired. I always say this. We're wired to be negative. We're supposed to remember them. That's the whole premise of the brain. Remember the negative so you don't do it again. So it's easier to be negative. Positivity, and when everything goes wrong and dusting yourself off. Right. Okay, fair enough. Do not. So, if anything, big tip from me before we start signing off in London. The meaning of life is there is no meaning of life unless you want to create a meaning on life. So when something goes wrong, there's no meaning. It's not personal. It's not because of you or anything like that. It's just happened. It just is what it is. If you've lost your job, if there's something you've done or the economic or anything like that, there's more things out there. We just get so focused on these small things. So if you want to know what the meaning of life is from Cuddy, is there's no meaning unless you create a positive one. What do you want the meaning to be? Do you want that meaning to be positive or do you want that meaning to be negative? If you're creating a negative meaning, like we said, change it. Change the meaning. And what I found, Graham, which is why I wanted to call it meaning of life, and I never really got to tell you my story about the meaning of life, but I'll tell you that in the next show, which was a story about me and my wife, is I'm in control of the meaning. I'm in control of the meaning. So once I lost my job last year, it just was an unfortunate event. Right, what can I do now? I was in charge of that. I wouldn't have, because I've got those tools now. I've got the tools that I use for mindset. And I think mindset for everyone around the world is a powerful tool. How we can change the mindset, what we focus on. I think it's a valuable tool that everybody can have. What you set your mind to and things like that. Which again, for some people is woo-woo, right? Woo
It
woo.
is. Sorry, I've just read Francis's. Seriously, I've tuned in for an hour to finally find out the meaning of life, only for you to say that there is none. I want my
I
money
want
back.
my money back.
Fantastic,
Unless you
Francis.
want to create a positive meaning to your life, and that's where purpose comes in. And we're going to talk about purpose. We'll bring you on another, because you're a massive advocate for purpose and things like that. We've all, if you haven't got a purpose and goals is something that can create a meaning of your life that will mean something. And I do remember one story of, it was a book about purpose, and it was basically, what do you want it to say on your gravestone? What do you want it to say on your gravestone? That is the meaning of your life. What do you want it to say on your gravestone? Now, for some people, that's negative. No, that's a positive. We all know where we're going. From the day we're born, we know where we're going. What do you want it to say on your gravestone, and live to that meaning? Is that good enough, Graham?
I think that's good enough, and I think it's the difference, if you imagine a seesaw, between life happening to you or life happening for you. And which way does the seesaw rock? You know, if life's happening to you, then you're not creating any meaning. You're just allowing life to create the meanings for you. If life's happening for you, you're creating your own meanings to every single situation. If you trip over something, you can either create the meaning that life was rubbish to you, nearly I swore,
Oh!
nearly life was rubbish to you, and clearly you deserve punishing, or you can create the meaning that I fell over, let's all have a laugh about it, get up and walk on and carry on with your day.
Yeah.
It really is that simple. You want a meaning of life, create your own. And there's a different meaning for every single situation you're in.
Yeah. And don't go searching for anybody else's meaning. Search for your own. I think
Absolutely.
In a world of social media where we're just drawing comparisons on who everybody else is around us, if I was to draw comparisons on everyone else around me, I would never, ever, ever get anything done, because I'd be like, well, I'm not that person. I'm not that person. No, I'm not. I'm Cuddy. Yeah. I am Cuddy Cudworth, 6'2", 3 feet wide, bubble of emotions and heart and love. That's who I am. And I'm very comfortable. And there's a lot of people around me sometimes like, oh, that's not what you are to me. No, but that's what I am. That's something I'm very, very, very passionate about, is being who I am.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Graham.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've only got 3 minutes left, Graham.
I know. I've just looked at the clock and went, where did that go? Could he do me a favor before we finish? Tell people about Monkey Mind Relaxation so that people know where to come.
All right, absolutely. monkeymindrelaxation.com. For anybody that wants to work one-on-one or join any of the Positive Mindset classes, we've got one coming up at the end of September, and that's going to be open. I'm going to get that up, and I will be talking about the positive mindset. If you want to know how to master your emotions, how to understand what your core values are, and understand that if you're not living to your core values, you might have these emotional imbalances within ourselves, such as depression and anxiety. It's such a beautiful thing once you learn alignment. If you want to learn how to take back control of your thoughts with a very, very simple tool that takes practice, then get signed up for the Positive Mindset course. I'll be posting details when we come back for a chatter about the chatter. So that's it. Monkey Mind Relaxation. Cuddy Cudworth. Big love from me. Graham, tell them about the Priority Academy.
Well, if you want to either help yourself or go on and help others, if you want to be a coach or a practitioner or a complementary therapist, then the Priority Academy, we offer high quality and high value courses at reasonable prices. One of my biggest things is about taking down the barriers to the helping industry, because the personal development and helping industry charge thousands of pounds, dollars, euros, wherever you are in the world. And my whole mantra behind that is I don't want you to pay that, so I do it at reasonable prices. So find the priorityacademy.com, check out the courses. There's over 25 different courses you can take on there, and I'd love to have you in one of my courses. Absolutely. And I think we're closing in on the end. We have got like 1 minute and 15 seconds left. Do you know what? I think Terry Regent should have close to the final word. Don't go with the flow, be the flow. That is awesome. If ever there was a message from this particular hour-long thing, that is the message. Don't go with the flow, be the flow. Terry, thank you so much for that. That is awesome.
Ooh, Terry. That's some great meaning right there. Don't go with the flow, be the flow. I've got a feeling I might be hashtagging that very, very shortly, Graham. Hashtagging.
I like that. Hashtagging. You clearly know more about hashtagging than I do.
Very true. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back in a couple of weeks' time with chatter about the chatter. I'm Cuddy Cudworth, 6'2", 3 feet wide, generally one of the happiest people you'll find. I've already been co-hosting The Meaning of Life today with Graham Nicholls, the founder and owner of the Priority Academy. If you do want to work with us in any way, just reach out, ask us some questions. It costs absolutely nothing to ask us some questions. That's what we're here for. Hope you've enjoyed the show today.
And we'll be back in a month's time. We're back for another one in 1 month.
Yes,
we're going to keep doing this for you.
Absolutely.
That's it. We're 5 seconds. They're going to close us down, Cuddy.
Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye.